After 10 years of meticulously shooting in RAW and manually editing every single photo, I've made a radical shift to a JPEG-only workflow using Fujifilm and Ricoh film simulation recipes. This transition required a lot of experimentation and a lot of testing, but with 3 years of shooting JPEG under my belt, I've learned a few key lessons. But before I share those lessons with you, I wanted to take a moment to thank today's video sponsor, Squarespace. I've actually been using Squarespace for over 10 years now. Their templates and their easy-to-use interface make it incredibly simple to create and maintain a professional-looking website without any coding experience necessary. My Squarespace website was an essential part of how I built my photography business. It allowed me to showcase my portfolio, share recent work on my blog, and receive inquiries from potential clients through my contact form. If you're one of those photographers relying on your Instagram profile as the sole place to share your work and build your photography business, I would really consider making a website on Squarespace. You can visit squarespace.com/Reggie Ballesteros to start a free trial and get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. The first lesson is to find and use film simulation recipes, but don't stop there. Make sure you tweak them. You can find recipes online at Fuji-X Weekly, or on different blogs, or even YouTube channels like mine. But remember that these are tailored for those photographers specifically, and they should only serve as a starting point for the look. Experiment and tailor them to your shooting style, as each of the different parameters will change how the photo looks or also how your camera operates. When shooting in JPEG, it is crucial to calibrate your LCD screen and the EVF of your camera. The way that I do this is I pull off an image on an SD card and load it on a screen that I trust, like my MacBook Pro or my editing monitor, and then I take that SD card and I put it back into the camera. From there, I adjust the LCD brightness setting on my camera so that the tones match as close as possible to that monitor. And this ensures an accurate representation of the image exposure and the contrast. To fully adopt a JPEG-only workflow, you have to shift from shooting for the edit over to shooting for getting it right in camera. The reason for this is what you see is what you get when it comes to film simulation recipes straight out of the camera. Try your best to get the exposure as close as you can based on how you see it in the camera. And you'll notice that modulating the exposure a little bit brighter, a little bit darker, can actually shift the mood of how a film simulation recipe renders a specific scene. There is one caveat to this JPEG-only workflow. As a safety, I still shoot in JPEG plus RAW, so I don't ever touch the RAWs in post or anything like that, but shooting in both JPEG and RAW formats offers that peace of mind for archival purposes, and it actually allows me to be able to reprocess the photo through the in-camera editor, or I can also use applications like Fuji X Studio to reprocess the image. This gives the best of both worlds because it locks me into that limitation when I'm shooting, but I still have the option to kind of fine-tune the edits later on if I change my mind down the road. Many people who are new to Fujifilm or using film simulation recipes start to think that Fujifilm cameras are slow. And this is because you need to exercise caution when using the in-camera clarity settings, as the clarity effect requires extra post-processing of the image in camera, which can actually result in some latency when shooting, making your camera feel slower because of this loading screen that happens after you shoot each photo. If this delay annoys you, like it did for me, I'd recommend turning off the clarity setting to 0 and using something like a moment Cinebloom filter to add halation or softness to your image. Flexibility and maximum image data is really overrated for most photography scenarios. Instead, I believe that we should embrace creative constraints, as those creative constraints can actually lead to more artistic freedom. It encourages me and you as a photographer to explore new approaches and techniques to navigate difficult lighting situations and difficult conditions that you normally default to some type of heavy post-processing after the fact. For example, very complex masking. Because I don't have to worry about how I might be able to edit a photo after the fact, this actually frees up a lot of brain power for me to be intentional and creative about how I light and compose a photo that's right in front of me in real time. It may surprise a lot of you, but JPEG files actually have a lot of leeway when editing. They offer a lot more editing flexibility than it is commonly assumed. You can actually push and pull the photo up to a stop without much degradation, and you can also do minor shifts to white balance and tint. And because of this, I can actually refine an image a little bit if desired in an application like Lightroom, but because it's a JPEG that doesn't require a proprietary RAW processor, I can also just edit a photo directly on my phone's camera roll. control. And this provides a really convenient option for on-the-go editing without sacrificing any type of image quality. My personal transition from RAW to JPEG has been transformative for me as a photographer, and while it's not suitable for everyone, if you've been a die-hard RAW shooter, you might actually be pleasantly surprised by how a JPEG workflow can affect either your personal work or maybe even some of your client work. So with that, my name is Reggie Ballesteros. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you loved it, definitely subscribe for more. And if you want to check out my favorite film simulation recipe, be sure to watch this video next.